Welcome to the Fashion Insiders podcast. This is your source for straight-talking, no-fluff fashion business conversations that add real value to the way passionate fashion entrepreneurs live, work, and thrive. Having the courage to start your own fashion brand and business, design, develop, and manufacture your products can be a tough and lonely process. It may not be easy, but it can be simple. I'm your host, Desi, and I'm here to show you how to optimize your performance as a fashion entrepreneur and brand owner so that you can launch and grow a fashion business that is profit-rich, efficient, and can scale online and offline. And when done right, it allows you to generate a real tangible wealth for yourself and others. Let's go. Hi, Annie.
Hi, Desi.
How are you?
Good.
Where
Thank
am I
you.
finding you? Where are you located?
So in Bangkok, Thailand.
But you're not Thai originally.
No. So I'm originally from Switzerland, and I have been living in Thailand for the past 15 years.
Amazing. So shall we tell the listeners who you are and something about your brand?
Okay. So my name is Anne-Claude, but everybody calls me Annie here. I'm the founder of Mon Panama, which is an accessory brand focusing on hats and bags. All products are entirely handmade by artisans in Ecuador and Thailand, using only natural and sustainable materials. So I founded this brand around 7 years ago when I was working for hotels, and I discovered a need for quality hats. So it's very sunny and it's always beautiful here in Thailand. And I realized that in many hotels, they were not having good hats in the shops, so in the boutiques of the hotels. So my husband is Ecuadorian, so I had that idea that maybe we should import Panama hats to Thailand, and that's how everything started. But I had always a passion for hats. Since a little girl, I always loved hats. So this is something which came back much later, but it was a product I could identify myself with.
Interesting. So when I came across you, I was quite surprised that your brand was about hats, and it took me back in memories to the days when I was in Burberry and I used to develop and work on some hat collections, and it intrigued me. And when we spoke, you told me that the Panama hat actually is not from Panama. So shall we share the story?
Yeah, not many people know, but it's a misname. The Panama hats don't come from Panama. The Panama hats are 100% Ecuadorian hats made with paja toquilla, which grow only in Ecuador. So it happened, this misname happened actually maybe 200-300 centuries ago when they started to export the hats. So back then they used the ships, and it went first from Ecuador to Panama and then to the United States and Europe. And so that's how the misname started, because people would identify the hats from Panama because it was written Panama on big boxes and not Ecuador.
Mm-hmm.
This is one reason of the misname, but then there are also other reasons. So for example, during the construction of the Panama Canal, President Roosevelt was wearing these hats, and everybody just thought because he's wearing these hats in Panama, they must come from Panama.
How interesting. Amazing. So what was it like? I mean, okay, so I get that you couldn't find hats that you like, but what made you actually develop your own hat collection and turn it into business? And what was that process like?
So we went on a sourcing trip to Ecuador for 2-3 weeks, and we met the artisans. And I really fell in love with that craftsmanship. And I loved Ecuador before going there, but then discovering the hats and the people who do them and going through the different regions, I just thought that's an amazing product. I need to bring it back to Thailand. But back then we were not sure if we could sell it, if there was a market. So we just packed a lot of hats, put in our suitcases, and when we arrived back in Bangkok, we started taking pictures and sending to friends, sending to GMs of hotels, and that's how it started. And then I had a special connection with a beautiful place, destination spa called Chiva Som in Hua Hin, south of Bangkok. And because I used to work there before for 5 years, I was the product and retail development manager. And so I asked the sales manager in the boutique if I could give her the hats and if she could kind of get the feedback from the customers, and she did that. And after the high season, the high season is from November to April, more or less. She sold everything. So this was like the confirmation that I could, really go ahead and also set up the company, because we need to import, so we need a proper company and do all these things which are necessary to make it happen.
Wow. So is that how you started, by supplying hotels with hats?
Yes. So,
and it was, I imagine, because you worked for hotels, you understood sort of the mentality, how to approach them.
Yeah. So it is a lot on consignment for sure.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So the boutiques don't buy?
No. Yeah. Oh. No. Yeah, because everybody is kind of afraid of dead stock, especially the GM. So they want to work with people who agree on consignment. So this was for my brand, but then everything which was private label, because then also many hotels wanted to have their own brand. So the customized boxes, customized hats. So then it was of course wholesale. So I did this for many years. So in parallel, consignment and wholesale for private label. Yeah, and wow. Private label was very successful because my first customer was the Mandarin Oriental in Bangkok. And this was a wonderful experience because it gave credibility to Mon Panama right away from the start. And, creating these beautiful boxes and amazing packaging and beautiful ribbons. It just you don't need to speak so much about the product. The pictures just speak by themselves. Yeah,
that's amazing, because also if you're based in Thailand, you have so much craftsmanship and possibilities all around you. All these micro crafts industries, right?
Yeah, that's something I actually didn't know about it. But when I was looking for packaging, then I discovered it. And then I was looking for ribbon, and then I discovered Chinatown.
Oh, really?
And now I really love Chinatown. I go there a lot for sourcing. And Bangkok is an interesting place for sourcing because there are many, many different neighborhoods where you can do sourcing. You just need to know where to go, and at the beginning you spend quite some time searching and sourcing, but then once you know where to go, it's quite easy.
Yeah. So what were your challenges when you started making your hats? Because I imagine working with artisans, one of your a problem you are not going to have, let's say, is large MOQ, which most people in fashion, when they start manufacturing and working with factories, they are faced with the problem of, how do I make such a large production that the factories want? So I imagine that wasn't an issue for you. But what were your challenges?
So quality.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because it's handmade. So every piece is a little bit different. So we accept, of course, little differences, but if there are big differences, we need to reject. So at the beginning, I had quite some issues with regards to quality, and I had to, speak to my suppliers. And of course, you cannot send back the products you reject. So at the beginning, you make some loss. It's part of it. But then they learn, and every order improved. And now it's going really well because also they know our standards and they respect that. But it takes time.
Do you know, from my experience, one of the things that I have found of working with countries that are not from, let's say, the Western world, with factories that are placed outside, like Asia or Latin America, or even certain parts of Europe, but I found that they don't really understand the high quality that Western customers expect. Little mistakes to them, they're like, oh, it's part of the process. So it's very difficult to actually train and explain to someone that something as little as, look, a small imperfection, it's a reason for someone not to buy on the other side.
Yeah, if I have these kind of issues now, I always tell my suppliers I cannot sell. So it will just be in my stock, but I cannot do anything with it. I will have to give it away. So this is something they understand when I tell them that I cannot sell. It means I'm making a loss. I'm buying something that I can then not sell. So they understand that concept, they understand. And there are always things I need to compromise with regards to quality, but there are things I cannot compromise. And when I cannot compromise, then I don't pay.
Yeah. And have you managed through, as your business has grown, have you managed to kind of grow the community of craftsmen that work for you?
Yes, yes. So this is something which takes also time, but so after the Tokia Palm, which are the artisans from Ecuador, I started searching for artisans here in Thailand. So Thailand has incredible communities of artisans too, but because of the language, it's sometimes quite difficult to find these communities. And also it's a very big country. So traveling outside of Bangkok, now it's much better because of Google Maps and it's easier. We can communicate much easier, but back then it was complicated. So it took me some time, but so I work with a community who specialize in water hyacinth, and we do mostly bags.
Wow.
And then in central part of Thailand. And then I have another community in the south of Thailand. They do gray sedge. So it's different from the water hyacinth because it's lighter and more flexible. And then I also work with leather artisans. They are based in Bangkok. And then Sea Snake, I just started, is a kind of a new project also. Bamboo also, and also organic cotton, which comes from the north.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it's fascinating. And sometimes there are some fairs in Bangkok, and a lot of people from all over the country, they come and show their crafts. And that's a great moment to collect business cards and maybe get in touch, buy a sample and see if you can develop a relationship.
Wow, fascinating. So how did the pandemic, the past couple of years, impacted your business? Because I imagine all the hotels shut down, right?
Yes, yes, this was, this was 2.5 years ago, and it still didn't open, although they are open, but they have no customers right now. It was terrible. Had a big shock, yeah, because I just, from one day to the other, everything stopped in a way. And
I suppose if also people are not traveling and going out, they also don't need hats. So not only did your retailers shut down, but the demand probably stopped.
Yes, so, lockdown, people stay at home, nobody goes anywhere. So the people who always buy hats are people who travel, they want to go to see, they go to Angkor Wat, they are visiting temples, they go to beaches, so it all makes sense. But it's true, a lockdown and people staying at home indoors, nobody needs hats.
So did you think this is it? Your business was done, or what went through your head?
No, because I had, spent so much time creating this, and this is my little baby. I mean, I could never give up, So I just started to think how to continue. So I realized that I had to go directly to the consumer, to the end consumer, and I had always thought about it, but I never really knew how to do it, because it's very different. You know about this because you speak a lot about wholesale retail in your podcast. So this is something.
Yes, when you're in your comfort zone and it's working for you, you don't have the urgency to explore another channel.
Yeah, so I started to work with a branding coach from Australia, and she showed me a lot of things of my brand I didn't know, and she explained to me how I could take advantage of it and become myself more visible and speak about what I do. And so this is what I then started to do. I also opened more my showroom. It was always open, but I never promoted it. I never took pictures of it. And so every time I had customer, I started taking a lot of pictures and, promoting it and sharing it. And also me showing how to wear my products. So yeah, I started to have a nice little community here in Bangkok, mostly expats and Japanese. not so much ties actually. And then I always went to fairs when I had the occasion, the opportunity to show the products. I always did that effort to go outside and try to sell wherever I could.
Yeah.
And then, of course, also the online. I was very active, improving my website and posting a lot on social media. Yeah.
What was one thing that you learned from your coach about your brand? Because you said that she showed you things about your brand. What was like one thing that you had not noticed and she opened your eyes to it?
Yeah, she said, "Hey, you're the Panama hat expert." You know, I never
Wow.
saw myself as an expert. I
Yeah.
just thought that's my passion.
So she allowed you to kind of claim that category for yourself.
Yeah. She said you have to position yourself as the expert and communicate about it,
Yeah.
say it, and make it make the other people understand that you're really the expert and be proud of it. But when you're so much into it, you forget about what you do and who you are.
Yeah.
Because it's just normal. It's every day kind of the same you do. But so she opened my eyes to this, and then I realized that when I had customers coming, they would ask for advice, they would ask for recommendations, and then I thought, oh yes, it's advice I give them ideas. They don't know how to wear it, how to take care of it, how to travel with it. I give them all these this information.
A lot of people think that they don't suit hats as well, which is a myth, right? It's a story in their heads.
It is actually, because all depends on the design, the color, the shape of your face. So I have a very big mirror in my showroom, and I just, when people come, I just tell them, hey, here you have all these hats, just go ahead. Yeah. We find together the right size, but then it's up to the customer to try on. And it's amazing. I have people who said, oh, hats are not for me, and they become, hat aficionados. Yeah. Yeah, who wear now all the time hats.
Yeah, amazing.
So, yeah, it's amazing.
So how you started with one hat? Did you start with like one shape, or how did you start, and how have you evolved your brand until now?
So I started with a very small collection of fedoras.
Yeah.
I started with fedoras because they are good sellers with women and men, and I wanted a unisex product. For hotels, I needed something unisex. And then I had a wide brim hat, which has a round crown and a wide brim. So I started basically with these 3-4 hats, and they started to sell well. And then I invested in more designs. And then now I also have felt hats, because Thais actually they like felt hats, even if it's very hot. They like
really?
to have, yeah. I think it's a fashion thing, not so much for outdoor, but when they are indoors, they like to wear the felt hats. And and bags, of course. And now I also developed small accessories which are matching well the hats, like hat holders, magnetic suitcase holders, away also straps to display the hats on the walls.
So you're becoming an expert in resort, in a way.
I would love to. Yeah, I always think it's about traveling.
Yeah.
The products I do, it's about traveling, not only beach, but a lot of traveling. And actually my tagline is travel back in time with your favorite hat, because I think also when the tourists come to Thailand, they love to, like dream and visit the temples, go to the beaches, have a good time. And the hat is a perfect accessory for these moments.
Yeah. And now that you're online, now that you're moving your business online, have you found your audience changing? Are you targeting a wider audience as well? Are you moving towards looking more internationally?
Yes, actually. And I realized that when you start a brand and you're first doing wholesale before going international, you need to be strong retailing in your own market. Because now I feel much more confident to go abroad than before, because I know already what the people like here in Thailand. So a lot of my customers are expats. So of course, this helps me to understand much better what actually my avatar likes, because I know what they like here.
Yeah.
But going abroad, yes and no. I think it's something which is in my mind, but it's not something I take my time. If I have if I have opportunities, or if I find the right people to do it, I probably would. But yeah, I'm taking my time.
Okay. And what would you say are your kind of, at the moment, biggest challenge and biggest win? Like, what are you really proud of, and what is something on your to-do list to overcome as a challenge for the business?
I think I'm really proud of my collection, my current collection, because as you mentioned one time in one of your podcasts, you talk about the family. And I feel that I was able to create a family, because a lot of my customers, they buy one product and then they want also other products which complement each other. So I'm very proud about this achievement, and also the fact that I work with many different materials now, because every material, when you do the product development, has its own challenges.
Yeah.
Water hyacinth is very different from gray sedge. Gray sedge is very different from palm leaf. So all these are challenges, but the more you do it, the more experienced you become. And then also, you know, which supplier can do certain products. So this I'm proud of. Now my challenges, I think, is the digital marketing. Yeah, it's the digital thing. I feel very much in my comfort zone when I'm in front of the customers in my showroom, or in a hotel, or wherever I sell. But when it's online, like you know, doing funny dances in front of a camera and all that kind of things, this is a challenge.
Yeah, it doesn't help that all the algorithms and platforms change all the time now. You can go crazy trying to keep up with.
Yeah, you're always late. Whatever you do, you're always late.
Yeah, it's true, actually. Yeah. And what else was I going to ask? Oh, yes, I was going to ask you, it's very interesting that you're working with all of these materials, natural materials. Do you find that your customers ask how sustainable you are, or if you're ethical? Your type of customers, are they bothered by this? Is how big a part of your marketing is you talking about that you're sustainable, that you are ethical, etc.?
So I guess I feel there's a bit of difference between the Asian customers and maybe the European or American customer. I think the Asian customer, if they like your design, if they like the way they look, they will buy it. But of course, the European customer asks a lot of questions. I tried one time to sell in Switzerland, because I'm originally from Switzerland. So we wanted to do a fair in Switzerland, and I got a lot of these questions about who are the artisans, do I pay fairly wages? And I got questions I never would have had in Thailand. So I feel that that's also a challenge when you want to sell internationally. You must explain a lot, and you must communicate very well. Yeah.
You know, you mentioned that you'll be working with water snake. I mean, I know what water snake is, and all of this, what they seem like exotic to us in the West, is probably not so exotic in Asia. How are you going to perhaps handle questions about the sustainability and ethicalness of using a water snake?
Well, actually, they do a lot of squid fishing here in Thailand, and when they fish this, when they catch the squid, there are a lot of sea snakes in the nets, and if they wouldn't use it for the skin, they would throw them back into the water dead.
Oh.
That's what I was told. And I think it's true.
Mm-hmm.
And also I heard that either they would throw them back into the water dead, or they would use it for pet food. Now they don't want to use it for pet food because it seems that the sea snake is very slippery. And so the pet food manufacturers, they don't want it. They don't want the sea snake because of that. Mm-hmm. So the people with whom I'm working, they taught the fishermen how to remove the skin from the snake and dry it on the sun. And so there is this whole process where it's actually sustainable.
Yeah. It's very interesting. It's fascinating.
I also learned about that just recently because I was not, I wasn't comfortable using sea snake, and I'm only using sea snake. I don't use any other exotic material.
Yeah.
But I asked a lot of questions to in the shop where I buy, and I mean that it sounds reasonable to me because I know Thailand and I know there are so many fishermen who live of this.
Yeah.
It could be interpreted in a different way.
Yeah.
When you're abroad.
Yeah. I think it's a very interesting topic because I think that very often in the West, we don't realize the livelihood and what happens in other countries and how they live and what's part of their everyday life. We just interpret it through our own understanding of how life is for us. And therefore we make assumptions that something is right or wrong, bad or good. You know, it's very binary. We live in a very binary world. Yeah, I don't know where I'm going with this, but I guess it's fascinating. And it just makes me wonder whether when you launch, which I'm really excited about your launch and working with Watersnake, but it makes me wonder whether you're going to find yourself in a situation where you're perhaps marketing this more to expats and people who understand the Asian way of life and don't have a problem. And you are not going to maybe show it so much to Western customers because they're going to ask so many questions. Interesting.
Yeah. I for now I haven't actually done anything yet. So except the eyeglass holder, where it's just I couldn't have done it with the cowhide leather because it's too thick.
Yeah.
So for that specific product, the sea snake was ideal.
Yeah.
Now
I know quite a few luxury brands use. I mean, Jimmy Choo, for example, for years used sea snake for some of their clutches because the leather is very thin. Yeah, and it's very narrow. They have to stitch it together into panels.
Correct. It's thin, flexible, and it's quite resistant. It's strong.
Yeah.
You couldn't do belts, but for small accessories, it's great.
Yeah.
And then for shoes, it's good too. Actually, for shoes, it's good too.
Yeah.
You use it. You cover it. So you have beneath leather.
Yeah, you have to back it supported underneath. Yeah.
Yes, correct. But on top, it looks beautiful.
Yeah, it does. Yeah. Interesting. It would be interesting what your experience with this line would be, because I remember when I was working, for example, for Burberry, being that it's such a big company and they have so many agents in different territories. I remember that when we used to sample, we used to have in some products, we'll have 16 samples. In some products, we'll have 8 samples. In other products, we'll have 6 samples. And it was all driven by which markets these products were going to be sent. So that's to say that within the big collection that a big brand like Burberry had, for example, we wouldn't send the entire collection to everyone.
Yeah, so I work now with an agent in Japan. Okay. And I don't think sea snake is a problem there.
No, they eat.
They love it, actually. So yeah, you're right. All will depend to whom I'm selling and the preference they have for certain materials.
Yeah. So what's your, so let's wrap up. What's your vision for your brand for the future? Where's Mon Panama? Where would you like to take Mon Panama?
Gosh. I think I would love that when people think about Mon Panama, they think about a beautiful brand who has made them happy somehow. That's what I dream of, that Mon Panama becomes part of their life, and that they use it and just wear it. Yeah, that would be beautiful. And then I'd love to continue working with different materials. I think this is the most interesting part of my job, actually, is discovering new materials and develop products and try to make, something unique out of it and sell it.
Yeah. How amazing that you have all these resources and craftsmen at your fingertips. And
yes, yeah. But to speak Thai is really important, because with the suppliers, if you don't speak their language, it's very difficult to communicate.
Yeah.
Everywhere. And they respect you also much more if they see that you speak the language.
Yeah. Amazing. And that's so important in manufacturing, right? Beyond the good side.
You can make jokes too, and this is part of it.
Yes, but also if you make an effort and they respect you and they love working with you, they would do anything for you. Have you found this? They would go above and beyond to help you out, to try something new.
I think so. Yeah, for sure. There's a personal relationship happening where you can count on them and they can count on me, and you know that there's this trust. Yeah. Yeah, and you can also ask for special favors to develop a sample, or to do this, or to do just a very small amount, or all these things. Yeah.
Amazing. Okay, so final question. Has there been an advice that's kind of helped you to get to where you are?
Okay, so I think what is really important is to believe in yourself. It's something very simple to say. I think it has helped me a lot to believe in myself and my abilities to make things happen. And then, of course, you must love the product you're selling. Because you go through a lot of ups and downs. So when you go through the downs, when you love the product, it will, you will not think too much about these things happening to you, and you will just continue because you love the product. So believe in yourself and love what you're selling.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more.
That's what I would recommend to anybody else who wants to do something similar.
Yeah, amazing. Where can people find you? Where's the best way to follow you and see your wonderful...
MonPanama.com, or on Instagram, Mon Panama, or Facebook, LinkedIn.
Amazing. Well, we'll put all of these links below in the show notes. And
yes, please, Desi.
Yeah, amazing. And I wish you luck, and I can't wait to see where you take Mon Panama.
Thank you so much for having me. It was a pleasure. I love your podcasts.
Oh, thank you. Hey, thank you for tuning into the show and listening all the way to the end. If you want to know more about any information referred to in this episode, we've got all the links listed in the show notes, which you can find over at www.fashioninsiders.co/podcast. If you enjoyed this episode and conversation, make sure to subscribe to the show and get new episodes downloaded as soon as they come out. And if you have any questions, I'd love to help you. Email me your questions to insider@fashioninsiders.co, or just send me a DM over on Instagram. Finally, I'd really appreciate it if you could open up the app on your phone and leave me a super quick rating or review. Your reviews tell iTunes that this is a great podcast and it's worthwhile listening and sharing. And that can help me and my guests reach even more people. So that's it for today. I'll be back soon with another episode. And until then, thank you again for listening.